U.S. sees a net negative migration for the first time in decades amid Trump administration enforcement, economist says. Brookings Institution report estimates net migration between 10,000 and, between minus 10,000. I gotta stop this. They snuck an ad in on us. Anyway, net migration is between negative 10,000 and negative 295,000 in 2025. That's a big window, you know what I'm saying? But it's still negative. It's all negative. Negative migration. More immigrants left the United States than those who had entered the country in 2025, an occurrence that happened for the first time in at least half a century, according to the new report from economists. The report published this week by the Brookings Institution said that there was a significant drop-off in entries to the United States in 2025 and relative to 2024, and an increase of enforcement activity leading to removals and voluntary departures. Wow, it's almost like a mathematical equation. You do something on one side, like enforce the law, boom, the numbers start going down. Wow. Math is fun. Report published, blah, blah, blah. Okay. We estimate the net migration between negative 10,000 and negative 295,000 in 2025, the first time in at least half a century it has been negative. In our assessment, net migration is likely to be very low or negative in 2026 as well. Reduced migration will dampen growth in the labor force, consumer spending, and gross domestic product. We estimate a sustainable pace of monthly job growth to be between 20,000 and 50,000 in late 2025, and believe it could be negative in 2026. The job growth will be negative in 2026? I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of people, like, for example, if you think that all these illegal immigrants are taking all the jobs, if they are, then those jobs will need to be filled, and they'll probably be filled by U.S. citizens. And that means maybe more people working, maybe more people getting off of SNAP, EBT, welfare, and stuff like that, because we should probably end that stuff as well. The report also said though deportations and other exits receive more media attention, a slowdown in new arrivals, especially via humanitarian parole and refugee programs, and across the southwest border, has a bigger effect on reducing migration flows in 2025. The first year of the second Trump administration has seen dramatic changes in immigration policy, resulting in a sharp slowdown in net migration to the United States, according to the Brookings Institution. Expect the pattern of restrictive policy and increased enforcement to continue to intensify over the coming year. This article is mostly about numbers. And so, we voted for this. We voted, for Trump to do this. And when I think about all those people like protesting ICE in Minneapolis, and you know what happened 6 years ago in Minneapolis? The BLM riots. It was kind of that was kind of like the heart of where it all happened. It's suspicious that, Minneapolis and Minnesota keep coming up. There's a big trail of fraud leading straight to Minneapolis. Big trail of fraud. And so when I think about these anti-ICE people, you're first of all, you're mostly illegals. And if you're not illegals, you're these Trump derangement syndrome leftists, who think that, finally enforcing the law. This is the point. 50 years, net negative migration. 50 years. That's how long, that's almost 2 generations. 2 generations of people who have not seen law and order enacted in these streets. And the way that, even with even American citizens who are criminals, if law enforcement actually went after them, people would be surprised. Like, holy cow, they actually came for the drug dealer. Holy cow, they actually arrested him. And it's like, why are you so surprised? It's like I said, justice, I miss that motherfucker. And if you're worried about, the prices are so high and everything costs so much in the grocery store, and it's because people for 50 years or more have been coming into this country illegally, and we're just like, here's a bunch of free shit. Go wild. You know what happens to an economy when you do something stupid like that? And that's why there's this big trail of fraud leading straight to Minneapolis, and St. Paul. They're the twin cities, after all. What I think is funny about those two cities is like they had this argument at one point where like, no, we're St. Paul. You motherfuckers on the other side of the river, you're Minneapolis. And it could be a great American place again, and it should be. You know? But no, you're all too stupid. Just anything that Trump does or anything that conservatives do is evil to your mind, and that's the only thing you really understand. Anyway, let's go on to the next story about another POS floating around Minnesota. Minneapolis Mayor Fry refuses to walk back to get the fuck out message to ICE, he said. I don't know if you remember this in the news. But Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry is refusing to retract his calls for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to get the fuck out of the city, as violent protests continue for a second week. The backlash comes as the shooting death of Renee Nicole Good draws national attention to Minnesota. I stand by exactly what I said, Fry said in a Wednesday on Fox and Friends. His comments came as federal agents continue immigration operations across Minneapolis, while protests have led repeated confrontations between demonstrators and federal authorities. Fry has faced criticism from Republican leaders for his rhetoric in the hours after Good's death last week. Speaking to a press conference following the shooting, Fry said that he believed the government is trying to spin this action as an action of self-defense, which it was. When the conclusion is drawn by the government that's actually doing the investigation itself, it's harder to trust the investigation, Fry told Fox News' Griff Jenkins. We need to make sure the American people can earn and gain that trust. And yes, I think there are deep concerns in having exclusivity with the FBI and not our Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state level conducting the investigation itself. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so here's the point about Mayor Fry, what's his name, Jacob Fry, about him and even Tim Walz and these people who are saying like get ICE, get the F out. They're saying we're like at war with the federal government. I'm surprised you people are not arrested already. The last time people talked like this was, I don't know, the late 1850s, 1860s. They started talking like that. And then the Republican got elected. His name was Abraham Lincoln. He got elected. And then a bunch of Democrats in the southern states, they said, we don't want to be a part of this because that Republican over there is going to try to end slavery, and we want to keep slavery. So we're seceding from the Union. We want out of the United States. All right? And then this Abraham Lincoln guy, he sent a letter to a bunch of the northern states who wanted to have free, even though they still had racist ideologies and so forth. But they stood in principle slavery is wrong, and it is. And so he asked each state to send me a couple of divisions of soldiers so we can go invade the southern states. All right, but we don't live in the 1860s anymore. We have federal agencies dotting every single one of our states. You have FBI, you have ICE, you have people especially if you're a border, you have ICE and stuff like that. And if you wanted to secede from the Union, we could have that conversation. But first you got to pay us the billions of dollars that you stole from the United States taxpayers. Then we can have that conversation. In the meantime, you are part of the United States of America. And if there's one thing the Civil War taught us, is that trying to fight the federal government is not something that should be tolerated. You want to talk about secession, you want to talk about the things that Abraham Lincoln may have done wrong, we can have that conversation. And if you want to secede from the Union, fine. Maybe Canada will absorb you because you're all socialist dickheads. And then all of a sudden, all those Somali immigrants, they're bleeding Canada dry instead. Fine with me. Fine with me. That's just, I don't want to make all new flags. We'll take Puerto Rico. We'll make Puerto Rico a state and replace you. That way we don't have to change the flags. Friggin' idiot socialists. Just anything that Republicans do, they're like, oh my God, they're actually enforcing the law. That's like when you watch these body cam videos and people are like, you can't touch me, you can't touch me. It's like, where do you get that idea? Where a cop can't touch you? Anyway.
The madman loves you all, from the big to the small.